This is a representation of a skull that was found in Greece. Scientists and universities said it was Neanderthal around 300,000 years ago-ish, but then they realised it's not actually a Neanderthal. Now it's a Homo sapiens sapien, so now they've changed their dates as well. But what's interesting is where they thought it was, they're now saying that it's a different species to us, even though it's a Homo sapiens sapien. Now that means that everything that I've been saying in the other videos about how the different species of Homo sapiens sapiens interbred with each other and hominids would create different species, which is what we've got on the planet today. So that all makes sense, and of course mainstream does agree that 300,000 years ago, which is when the Anunnaki created the first humans in Africa, yes, everything seems to be matching up with my videos. Feel free to click that like button if you think I'm right. Is there any proof that the Anunnaki physically created the Homo sapiens sapiens? Well, this is a carving, ancient carving, and people say that this thing in the middle is the tree of life. Here's another example from a different carving, again showing some sort of tree that they're dealing with. This is what it actually looks like if you look carefully at it. Now, scientists and scholars possibly believe that it's a DNA strand. I'm not an expert on DNA, but that's what they're saying that it is, and therefore that's them showing that they did create the modern man. Other references to DNA, the other people, these ain't me, suggesting here is this object that they're holding, and they're saying that it's possibly that. But looking at Rome, where they had tridents and things like that, I think this is more of an electrical device for maybe a weapon of some sort. People that read the Bible have said, no, I'm wrong with the two lots of Adam and Eves. The first one's in Abzu, South Africa, 300,000 years ago, and then the other Adam and Eve, which was the Adam and Eve that we know that had Cain, Abel, Seth, that were in Mesopotamia, and they were the offspring of the Anunnaki and the ones that they'd created 300,000 years ago. So now let's just see what the Bible says, because people saying I'm wrong. But if you look at Genesis 6, and it came to pass that when men, that's the first lot of men in South Africa 300,000 years ago, began to multiply on the face of the earth, and they had daughters were born unto them. Then the sons of the gods, or God, but the sons of gods it should have been, then that's the second lot, and they then had relationships with the daughters of men, which were the first lot. So you can see I'm absolutely right, and the Bible actually agrees with me as well. Thank you. So Noah was obviously very important in our history, and he was the descendant of Adam and Eve. So basically he was a hybrid, just like Adam and Eve was, not a true Anunnaki. However, there seems to be some discrepancy compared to the lineage of Adam and Eve going down to Noah, and it does come across that Noah, just like Jesus, was a hybrid again. In other words, the wife of Lamech, who had Noah, was probably impregnated in some way, whether it's old-fashioned way or whether it was gene manipulation, to produce Noah. Now I'm just going to press play on a bit of audio.
And after some days my son Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore a son. And his body was white as snow, and red as the blooming of a rose, and the hair of his head and his long locks were white as wool, and his eyes beautiful. And when he opened his eyes, he lighted up the whole house like the sun, and the whole house was very bright. And thereupon he arose in the hands of the midwife, opened his mouth, and conversed with the Lord of righteousness. And his father Lamech was afraid of him, and fled, and came to his father Methuselah. And he said unto him, I have begotten a strange son, diverse from and unlike man, and resembling the sons of the God of heaven. And his name...
Okay, so the God of heaven, obviously space. So what we've got there is possibly a hybrid from the Anunnaki that created Noah to deliberately carry on the lineage, knowing that after 600 years, I don't know whether they knew this 600 years before, but after 600 years of Noah living, the flood came, and then he survived 300 odd years after the flood. So Noah, very important, but I don't think he was a true descendant of Adam and Eve. Just doing this video for the people on one of my other videos that said I was wrong when I was talking about the Bible, and I mentioned gods, and the word actually was showing the word God, and I said it should have been gods, and they said it's a sin, I'm bad, blasphemy, etc., whatever. And that's because they're reading, for example, Genesis 1:26, so God created man in his own image. But prior to that, it was actually in a different Bible, let us make man in our image, plural, our. But man, humans, have changed it to what we see here, which is singular. So I'm getting told off for them, you know, for saying plural, and yet man's already done it and you're not moaning at them, the people that's changed it. Elohim, in fact, is plural as well. It means gods. So let's just have a quick look, because I don't, you know, forgive me, but please, you need to do research. You can't just read one Bible, which is a copy of older texts. The Bible is a copy of thousands of year older texts. That's a fact. Now, these older texts are thousands of years prior to the Bible and talk about the stuff that's in the Bible. So which one come first? Is it the ancient texts or the Bible that was newer and just suddenly had the same sort of stuff that was in the ancient text? So we know that it's a copy. The Bible has been changed by man to fit their agenda. That's actually a fact. Just look at the Roman versions of the Bible. They took out whatever they wanted to, etc. So the humans changed the Bible. So what you're reading now, unfortunately, is what they want you to read. The Anunnaki's race name is Elohim, and that's written thousands of times in ancient texts. And they were here. And that's a fact. They were here. The Anunnaki were here. See video 495 for absolute proof that they were here. Anunnaki wrote about creating humans in ancient texts. They did. That's a fact. So far, it's looking like Anunnaki are the winners. Not in a competition, but no proof of an almighty being other than in the Bible, which is a copy of older texts, which the Anunnaki wrote. So there's no proof of an almighty being other than the Anunnaki's texts. So the Anunnaki wrote about the Great Flood before the Bible was even thought of. Fact. Does the governments around the world know all of this? Yes. So all I'm saying is, look, please don't keep shooting me, trying to shoot me down. Just go and do some research. I've done years of research, many years, and you know, to help you, go look for the Lost Book of Enki or the Book of Enoch, and you'll see the Bible is just a retelling. Unfortunately, it's got changed over the years. Fine, you know, so you're sort of reading it, unfortunately, wrong. But if you go back to the original text, it all makes more sense than what you've got now. Sorry I don't want to hate anyone or anything, but just the logic is there. Sorry. Okay, go with me here on this one. So I think Noah from the Noah and Ark story wasn't actually who we think he is. So here's the lineage here. You've got Cain, Abel, Seth, etc. And then coming down, the women were the ones in pink, and the blue here were the men. And Lamech was the man that had relationships with another of their type, which is obviously an offspring off of Cain, Abel, Seth, which were all humans. But Noah looked totally different. So I think that instead of Lamech, I think an Anunnaki god or an Anunnaki had relationships with this woman and produced Noah. And the reason why I say that is because, as you see here, that's what Noah was supposedly looked like. Now, who else would have had bright white hair? God. Which gods? Yeah, all the gods, all the Anunnaki. So it could have been an Anunnaki there instead of Lamech. After doing my TikTok videos about RH negative and where I think they come from, this person here does a fantastic job of explaining what RH negative is. Please check them out.